anybody who'd never seen it before? Was there anybody who'd only ever seen it on Comedy Central with like 20 minutes cut out? Including Kate Blanchett's bit. Not gone from the Comedy Central version. So you got to see it uncut.
Now we're going to do something similar. I want a couple of questions that are particular to Hot Fuzz. Interesting.
What's up, dude? What's going on?
Hey, man.
Hey, love your shits.
Thank you. I love your shit.
Thanks, homeboy. So, Hot Fuzz, right? Would you ever think of, I mean, I know it's part of a trilogy, would you ever think of possibly doing a sequel much like Lethal Weapon or Bad Boys 2, where they go like Hollywood or some shits? Because I mean, that's a great idea. It's like, oh, so in America was the best friends, like, you know, like the American space, we're supposed to go.
I don't know, we haven't done, we have not done sequels to Shaun or Hot Fuzz. I guess in both cases, I mean, you know, our time on this earth is short, and so I want to sort of try and sort of tell new stories if we can. You know, in Shaun of the Dead, there's a good reason for no sequel, is that most of the cast are dead. Characters, sorry, not cast, characters. Luckily, nobody in that room, is it? Hot Fuzz, I guess there could be, but it's that weird thing like that Nicholas Angel has gone from being who he is at the start of the movie to like this badass at the end, and it's kind of tough to start at that kind of place. So we did once like, I thought like, weirdly if Grindhouse had done better, I had an idea if there was ever a Grindhouse 2 to do a trailer starring the Andes. There was it was like a Grindhouse, like Hot Fuzz, but starring the Andes, where in the first scene of the trailer, Nicholas Angel and Danny Butterman get blown up by a car bomb. and then the Andes, Paddy Considine and Ray Sport take over, and the name of the film is going to be Maximum Tash. But that never happened. So, I don't know, it'd be fun to sort of like, I think what we just like to do, and like I said, we're writing a third film, and like, we'll work with some of the same people again, or like, it's what was really nice about doing that movie is there are people like Ray Spall, who was in Shaun of the Dead very briefly, even though he didn't only really like a couple of scenes, I thought he was so funny that we kind of promoted him in Hot Fuzz to like a proper part. And so that's kind of a nice thing, is having that kind of sense of repertory, and I think that's kind of what we do, that the third film would be in the flavour of, but like not an actual sequel. Okay, next question.
Hey, how's it going? I'm over here.
Oh yeah?
So I have a question about the editing and the pacing of the film. But before I get into that, I just wanted to say that Andrew over at Pixar says hi. And he gave me a t-shirt to give to you, and he said that he saw Cinna, and he, quote, fucking loved it.
Oh, cool. I have nothing to do with that movie, but I'll take it.
No, yeah, he said to mention that to you. But as far as the editing and the pacing of the film go, particularly in your transitions, how much of that is on the page, and how much of that is decided later on in editorial?
Most of the transitions, if they're not usually in the script, they're usually in the storyboards. And, you know, Scott Pilgrim has a lot of transitions in every single scene, and all of those things were storyboarded, same with Hot Fuzz. And I've been very lucky to, like, I edit as well, but I never edited any of my features. Weirdly, Don't, which you're probably going to see in a second, Don't I did edit, but like, Hot Fuzz, I've been very lucky to work with some amazingly talented people. And what's great is like, Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead were edited by Chris Dickens. And he filmed after Hot Fuzz, he did Slumdog Millionaire and won the Oscar for Best Editing. And then what was cool was that he couldn't do Scott Pilgrim because he couldn't come to Canada. And so I had a chance and I was allowed to promote my assistant editors. And so John Amos and Paul Matchless, who did, John Amos, who was the second editor on, like an assistant editor on Hot Fuzz, and Paul Matchless, who was an assistant editor on Space, I promoted them to the Scott Pilgrim, and then Scott Pilgrim was their first ever feature as editors, and they got an ACE nomination from the American, you know, like, I'm not saying what the C stands for, American something editors. What does the C stand for? Coalition, maybe. Anyway, but so that was amazing. Like, what's great is I've worked with great people, and particularly Scott Pilgrim was very sweet to me that I was able to promote my assistants and then get ACE after their name on their first film, which is pretty fucking amazing. So that was cool. Give it up for some great editors. Come on, they work hard. Okay. Where are we? Sweet. Okay. Hello.
I was wondering actually, would you ever be interested in opening your own production company?
Opening my own production company?
Yeah.
Well, I'm part of one anyway, like Big Talk Productions, which I'm a producer for. You know, they did Space. Naira Park's my producer, but, you know, the first thing I worked on as a producer was Attack the Block. Which, if you haven't seen it, I think it's in San Francisco. That's my production company, is Big Talk. And, you know, Space, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, Scott Pilgrim, Paul, Attack the Block. You know, so, and it's a good kind of like place to be, so that's it really. See you, thanks.
Hello, in the back.
Oh, hey.
Hey, okay, so I was wondering how much is scripted out versus how much do the actors get to improv? And also in a continuation of that, during the gunfight scene in Space, how much of that was scripted out versus the actors just having a fight?
We sort of tend to, it's all pretty scripted, but then we rehearse it a lot and we sometimes make it sound more naturalistic. I mean, hopefully it feels very real and improvised, but it's quite written. And there's not many places where people improvise, but kind of what we do is like we write the script, we rehearse it, and then we change things based on the rehearsal, and then we stick to that and don't really waver from it. And the only things that you see are different. Maybe sometimes on the DVD there are one or two places where you let the actor kind of try different things in different takes. But it's pretty much all written. I mean, especially in Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, you know, a lot of lines repeat themselves. And so to get those repeats to where they have to be exactly the same, so quite anal about it. Like, it's kind of completely the opposite like method to the way Judd Apatow works, where he gets everybody to, you know, kind of riff around every scene. But it's just kind of sort of very precise, but trying to sound naturalistic. So it should sound like they're making it up, even when me and Simon Pegg get super anal about the dialogue, you know, correct actors sometimes. So yeah. There was a second part to that question. Do you know what? Oh, that was rehearsed, yeah. Neither of these are funny answers, I'm sorry. Just genuine answers this time around. Let's get a couple more and then we should... That's okay.
Over here, on the right. Well, I guess to your left. Hey.
Hey.
I was still waiting for you to make another pizza commercial, but in the meantime, I was wondering, the sound design that you guys do in your films is like something that I've written a bunch of papers about in school, because I think it's fascinating. And I was wondering, how do you go about coming up with your, like, the sound schemes and the way that you go about the transitions and stuff? What, you know, what are you looking for when you do this? Because they're so incredibly effective. And, you know, they are definitely bringing a gigantic dynamic to, like, the way that you guys do your films. So I was just wondering how you guys do that.
I know we work really hard on the sound, and I've mostly worked with the same team on at least the last 3 films. What we tend to do is put a lot of sound on in the edit, because, like, I absolutely hate showing the films without the right music on them and without the right sound on them, so we end up doing a lot more work in the edit to start with. And if you're doing like a low budget film, like, do all your sound in like the edit before you go to the sound mix. So it's usually done, we've usually done twice the work. We've like made it sound, sometimes we've shown it to audiences is with just like a mix straight out of the edit, and then in the sound mix you're trying to make it sound bigger and use all the surrounds and stuff. And so there's cool stuff in Shaun of the Dead, like, you know, like, not many people use all of the speakers, because you can, especially, you know, you listen to it and hear it and sound good, especially if you listen to it at home if you've got a good setup, like putting, like the bit where Shaun walks to the store in Shaun of the Dead, the sound goes all around and it's supposed to be like, you know, geographically placed for where he is and where that person's talking off screen. So we spent an enormous amount of time getting that stuff right, and it's really, really tricky, but I'm glad that you appreciate it, because we worked really hard on it. Thank you. Again, not a final answer. Sincerity, not even near sincerity, genuine sincerity. Lady.
Hi. First of all, I'm a huge admirer of your work. I love all your movies. I love that you mix comedy and drama, and it's just fantastic. But my question relates kind of like to Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead. I noticed you use parallel storytelling a lot in Shaun of the Dead, and then you also applied to Hot Fuzz. And my question was, this storytelling process, how you kind of like show character development through like the real world and like how the world changes. How did you choose to apply that to Hot Fuzz, and like was it a story development that took place in screenwriting or in editing?
Oh no, it's all written in the script. That was the thing, like in Hot Fuzz, like that was one of the reasons that it was really difficult to write, is I came out of that film with an even more respect for like Agatha Christie. Because like it's easy to watch those Miss Marple or Hercule Poirot films and think like, it's the same old thing. It's like it's fucking like a maths problem. Like Agatha Christie was a fucking genius, and like those films are so, and those books are so brilliantly put together. So that was the thing that was like a real brain box kind of situation, and in Hot Fuzz particularly it gets super kind of dense. Where I don't know if anybody's ever noticed this, but it's so kind of geeky, but in Hot Fuzz, when he does the first kind of deposition to Simon Skinner, all of the transitions are backwards. So all of those shots had two transitions, one going in, one going out, and the second time around they all go backwards, which was an absolute head fuck. I sort of storyboarded it all out, and it works in the movie, but like I don't think anybody really realizes how ridiculously complex and anal all of that stuff is, but like I really love doing all that stuff, and it's all like boarding out, because if you don't go in with a plan, like you can't really make transitions up on the spot, and you can't really do them afterwards. Like they all have to be kind of worked out. But it also kind of it puts you in a strong position. If you're making a movie and you have to do the test screening thing, you're in a good position if like it's all like a fucking house of cards. Because you start to take transitions out and the whole thing falls apart, and then they say, oh no, put that back in. So it's kind of almost, sometimes it's a way, I like that kind of thing of it, every shot and every end of scene and start of a new scene feels meant, but it's also kind of like about control. It's like, this is the end of the scene, this is the start of the next scene, there's a particular order to this and it can never change, so, and that was definitely the thing with like Shaun of the Dead, is that like we only cut out a couple of sequences of that because we wanted to kind of keep all of those transitions in and thought they would, that was worth kind of like sort of striving for, Again, not funny. Right here.
Left. There you go.
Oh, hey.
Really quickly, I'd just like to say you're amazing, and just,
What's your name?
Kyle.
I think we all agree, ladies and gentlemen, Kyle is amazing. Thank you.
Wasn't going to bring it up, but thank you.
And Eli, who asked the question about Shaun.
Eli.
The book that was gone. How do you say that?
Okay, anyways, I can stand here and gush about your shit all night long, but I won't do that. My question is about Scott Pilgrim. I haven't read very much of the Scott Pilgrim books, sorry, fans. But I love the movie. The movie changed me, okay? I will get to it. I got lots of shit I want to read. Hurry up and ask the question. I'm wondering, the scene where he fights Matthew Patel, the first Eagle Alex, what made you want Matthew Patel to actually have, like, a musical number? Like, I think that's really cool, and it's just really unexpected, but it's the only one in the whole movie, and it's just really like, what the fuck, the first time you see it? But it's good.
Yes, an easy answer to that is it is in the book, but what's cool, one thing I'd like to, you give me a chance, it's in the book, and I always thought that was a cool thing, and it's one of the things that some people would say, like, when we were dancing, thinking, are you going to have that song in it? Is it going to break into song? So it's definitely something we had to kind of fight to keep. But that particular song was done by Dan the Automator, Dan Nakamura, who is not just a San Francisco resident, but is in the house tonight, so give it up for Dan the Automator. can't see where it is.
Alright, so as we move into Shaun of the Dead, as well as a trailer called Don't, for those of you that do not know, tell us a little bit about Don't.
Well, for those of you who don't know it, kind of giving away the punchline in the top. That was something I did for, straight after Hot Fuzz for Grindhouse. Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez asked me to do like a trailer. It's probably one of the most fun things I've ever shot. We shot it for 2.5 days. We had a different actor in pretty much every single shot. I mean, it was a huge amount of fun to make. That's it basically. It was like it was a hoot, and I edited it and like and we edited it and then we made a 35mm print and we took it out into the parking lot and we kicked it around genuinely and then put it back into the machine and that's how it looks all fucked up. But it was a very very satisfying thing to take a piece of film out and kick it around like a muddy car park. It's true.
Now, is there a movie of that?
No, sadly not.
We actually have the 35mm print of Don't that had to come from England.
Which contains Robert Rodriguez cut about 8 seconds of Don't out. He cut out 8 don'ts. So this version has 8 more don'ts in it. I think you'd agree, that's fucking gold dust.
This is the director's cut of Don't. Now, really, why is this trailer not available on the DVDs?
It's on the Blu-ray.
Okay. Good answer. Now, how many of you seen Shaun of the Dead? I teach film history at the Academy of Art, and I can genuinely say that this movie is a lot of people's favorite movie of all time. Not necessarily you, but you can clap if you want. I get assignments every semester, and people every single semester say this is their favorite movie of all time. How do you deal with that?
I'll take it. It's nice. I know. I mean, you know, like it turned out we were very pleased with it. It was a hard film to make, and it was a hard film to get going. And I think sort of like it's nice having that kind of just response to it because like there were several points in the making it we thought it was never going to happen at all, and so it means we all worked very hard on it and hard to make it happen. So it's great that it has a resonance for people, and it means a lot to us as well. Like I get quite emotional watching it because like it's all set in the neighborhood where you know me and Simon live and stuff. So it's literally very close to home. Simon Pegg could actually walk to location a lot of the time. He still lives around there, like sort of, and he never had a car because he'd always like just walk to the set. So it's very sort of close to home for us, and I think sort of, you know, I guess it kind of just resonates with some people because they feel like they, you know, like relate to some of the characters.
I know I've brought up your childhood a bunch, and obviously you watched a lot of horror films, and one, I want you to talk about how you watched horror films as a kid, first off. What was it like? What did you have to do? Did your parents allow you to watch them?
We didn't have a VCR in the house, but my parents couldn't afford one. And so I watched a lot of stuff on network TV, and then so there were some films that were like forbidden fruit because like they were only on VHS, and then when I finally got a VHS player, I could sort of hoover up all these horror films that I wanted to see. And me and Simon, actually, when we were doing Space, we actually bonded over our love for Dawn of the Dead, 78 version. It must be and kind of where the inspiration for this film came about was that we liked to, we always thought people never really commented on it, but like Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, they all take place during the same crisis, but they're 3 completely different stories. So you're seeing different characters in the same crisis. And so our idea for Shaun of the Dead was that this is happening at the same time. So whilst Ken Forey is in that mall, like Simon Pegg is in the Winchester, and it's like the same time. So we really like tried to make it so it worked within the same universe as Romero. So the zombies don't run. Like good old fashioned, the original recipe, slow zombies. Another thing I thought basically, it was always supposed to be like the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of zombie movies. What about those two guys? What are they doing?
What? Was that Eli? And what were we supposed to talk about, by the way, for Shaun of the Dead and Eli?
We did know, I just thanked him. I thanked him. Oh, I'll tell you a funny story. I was going to say about the Steadicam though.
There we go.
The DP on this film, the director of photography, his name is David Dunlap. He was the camera operator on two of my films. He was the camera operator on Raising Arizona and Goodfellas. Here's the funny thing. Every day on set, every day, somebody in the crew or cast would hear that he did Goodfellas for the first time and said, "Oh wow, you shot Goodfellas? That's amazing. Like, you do that shot in the kitchen is incredible." He goes, "Well, that's a steady, I didn't shoot that one, it's a Steadicam shot. That was like a sort of, that wasn't me, that was somebody else." He goes, "But I did everything else, I just didn't do the kitchen shot." And then every day it'd be like, "You did Goodfellas? That kitchen shot is amazing. I didn't do that one, I did that. I did everything else, but I just didn't do the kitchen one, it's a Steadicam shot." It happened every day. The funny thing when Shaun of the Dead came out, people would say, "You shot Shaun of the Dead? That shot when he walks to the store is amazing." He goes, "Well, I didn't do that one, I did everything else." I think that he's constantly haunted by the shot that he didn't do. He's a very bad operator. So that was funny.
You do have a thing, so let's do the thing.
For those of you who weren't here before, this is like a bit of deep poetry. It's like free association. This is like the IMDb plot keywords read out in order. And I will again nominate. Thank you for the churro that stabbed in the chin. That was fucking amazing.
Yeah, we could feel
the vibrations. Okay, I want you to cheer if you're particularly happy about any of these. Zombie. Record collection, pub. Cricket bat, long take. Not done by the Goodfellas operator. Severed head, Generation X. Lifting person in air. See also Star Wars. Throat ripping, improvised weapon, ink, accountant, flower shop, broken bottle, stepfather, stepson relationship. National emergency, decapitation. This is a good one. Somebody actually bothered to put this in, user generated. Somebody put in this one, old lady. And this is what's even better, the top three, going from number 3 to number 1. Number 3, Zombieland. Number 2, A Princess Bride. And what's funny is I can't even think off the top of my head what the old lady is, but number 1, Shaun of the Dead. We beat Zombieland in the old lady states. Bitten in the neck, flesh-eating zombie, rifle death, Arab grocer. Gore, cannibalism, he's not Arab either. Cannibalism, bloody handprints, breakup, mother-son relationship, no opening credits. Not entirely true. Secret love, friendship, and get this one, hit with a shovel. Hit with a shovel, also seen in Groundhog Day, Home Alone, and the hilarious comedy Blood Diamond. Lookalike beheading, London, England, suburb, electronic store, explosion, kill a child, shot repeatedly, boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, machine gun, shot in the chest, roommate hip-hop montage, dart, shot in the neck, car accident, eaten alive, answering machine. Trampoline. The top 3. Number 1, Shaun of the Dead. Number 2, Knocked Up. Number 3, and I think about this one, Army of Darkness. Of course, the trampoline is only in the not the director's cut. loss of mother, tool shed, severed arm, shot to death, dismembered, flower, jukebox, shot in the eye, shot in the forehead, cell phone, impalement, the colour red. Also seen in The Sixth Sense, Marnie, and 3 colours red. You would hope red would be in 3 colours red. Loss of husband, Molotov cocktail, and hit the last 3. All great. Beaten to death. Flatulence, and disembowelment. So I think your applause word should be disembowelment. There you go.
Now, before the movie starts, we do actually have a trailer reel. Collecting trailers on 35mm, sometimes those trailers are more artistic than the movie you can never even find. And so, not only are we going to watch a couple of trailers that you sincerely need to write down on a piece of paper and go and rent, but one of the trailers is something that I've never watched, and I felt that it was very important to share this with all of you as well as Edgar. This is a true story. Before this, I worked at a movie theater called the 4-Star Theater on Clement Street, still around. And it was the last Chinese movie theater in the United States. And as I was going through the movie theater, I found this can of film. And what it turned out to be was, like in Cinema Paradiso, where over the years they had cut out kissing scenes and had put them all into one reel, and it's a very moving moment. And, well, this was all of the most traumatizing violence and sex scenes. I wish that I made this up. It was truly legend. So I edited, I spliced it all together, trying to get some weird arc through it. I've never been able to actually watch this thing. Now, I am warning you that there's going to be some traumatizing violence and sex things. And so it'll be a very personal experience to get to go through together, and especially with Mr. Edgar Wright.